Hi Fad Campers, it's Grace here and I have some new stand updates I'd love to tell you about. If you're based in the UK, I will be doing some dates in July and August and I'd love to see some of you there. I'll be in Leeds doing a work in progress with Amy Annette on July 4th in the Hyde Park Book Club. I'll be in Brighton on July 6th with Alison Spittle in the Comedia Comedy Club, and I'm going to be doing my own work in progress show in Glasgow on July 12th at Good Egg Comedy. Also then I will be at the Edinburgh Fringe, of course, for the entirety of August, from July 30th to August 24th. I'll be at the Assembly George's Square at the Crate, 10 to 3 every day. Would love if you could tell anyone you know who's going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe to come see my show. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. We'd like to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, Anchor.
Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast.
It's free.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more.
You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Now, let's get to the show. Hey folks, Conor here. Before we get to the show, just want to give you a quick heads up that we had a couple of minor tech issues recording this episode through Zoom back when we first started the podcast. But don't worry, because it turned out to be a fantastic show. You might hear the odd glitch or two in the first half, but it's nothing to worry about. And it'll be totally worth it when you get to hear about the madness that is the potato diet. So enjoy.
My name is Grace Mulvey. I'm a comedian, human woman, and lifelong fad dieter. From the moment I walked out of my mother's womb, I've been on a diet. That's 31 years of no carbs, no sugar, and no crack. It's time to say enough already. Now, I'm not saying I'm a nirvana of self-love and acceptance, by the way. But I am saying that I'm no longer willing to spend all of my time, money, and energy on fad diets.
And I'm Conor Dowling, writer, filmmaker, and world-class warrior. Years of fitness models, crotch fiends, and get thin quick schemes have melted my brain and left me overweight and unimpressed. I've wasted years of my life obsessed with what I eat and how I look. So now I finally know what's making me feel like crap all these years. Fad diets.
We are not health experts. I repeat, we are not health experts. We are just here to talk about and laugh at our experiences of bullshit diets.
Disclaimer, please, whatever you do, don't hurt yourself with any of these crazy weight loss topics we discuss in the show. This podcast won't make you thin, but it might make you laugh. Welcome to Fad Camp.
Hello, welcome back. This week's episode we are going to cover the potato diet. As an Irish person, I'm very excited that we're actually going to be covering this diet. I think it's because we're like, from the famine, I was like, God, we've had no potatoes. Now all we want are potatoes for at least 2 months straight or whatever this diet is. Conor, now you're the guinea pig this week, really. You're the one who actually has tried this diet. I have never done it. I've done basically, a carb load diet lifestyle.
Sure. Okay,
as if I've run a marathon every day, which I haven't. But I've never actually tried this one. So what is it about? Yeah,
I think one of the interesting things that people kind of get surprised at when they hear about a potato diet is normally when you're on a diet, they tell you don't eat potatoes, cut out all carbs. So this is one that's really kind of unusual. Basically, I heard about this through the popular TV magician Penn Jillette, who I'm a big fan of. He released a book a couple of years ago called Presto, How I Made 100 Pounds Disappear.
And this guy, right, because I'm not massively now into magicians. My magician knowledge isn't huge. Sure. But I know him from that one time on Friends where he sold Joey an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
When we were doing a little bit of research, I was like, oh yeah, the guy from Friends, which is, and then I was like, oh, he's actually has so much more to him, including writing this book.
He's been in so many things, and Penn and Teller obviously is the act, he's the big tall guy and Teller's the quiet one who never talks but does all the work in the relationship. They've been across so many reality shows, Survivor, they were on the Celebrity Apprentice.
They were on Survivor.
They were. Or is it Fear? No, not Survivor. Sorry, they were on Fear Factor and Celebrity Apprentice. Right. They were on.
That makes so much more sense than Survivor. Just these two magicians make fire through a trick. And
I think they'd be pretty good at that. But yeah, so like I said, big fan of his, and I did notice that he'd had this massive weight loss, and he looked quite different. Like like he was always a really, really tall guy. He's probably like 6'7" or something like that. You know, he's a giant of a man. But so he kind of hid the weight well. But of course, it turned out behind the scenes he'd been struggling with his weight for years, getting bigger and bigger every year. His blood pressure was rising to like crazy heights, and he was on all sorts of medication, and he was basically on the verge of getting a gastric sleeve, which is incredibly intense and invasive operation that a lot of people have to go through for extreme weight loss. But before he did that, he decided to do one more crazy thing to try to lose weight, and that's when a scientist called Ray Conor worked with him to give his diet and lifestyle a complete overhaul and put him on a new eating regime that began with 2 weeks of potatoes only. Right? Yeah. So the idea here was that by simplifying his diet down to the most plain food he could think of, you can also do this with rice or beans. It doesn't have to be just potatoes. The idea is that it's one plain, simple food. And the idea,
I don't thought you were giving variety.
Yeah, exactly.
You can also just do this with rice or beans. And I'm like, oh, thank God, beans for 2 weeks.
Choose sign me up. The most insipid food you can think of, basically.
You know, gruel from Oliver Twist, you could do it with that. 2 weeks of just pure gruel.
So the idea was, with this plain food, he could reset Penn's palate and make sure he was only eating when he was hungry. And I'm sure like the massively reduced calorie intake would help too. And like the idea as well is like, how many potatoes can a person actually eat? And it turns out a lot, and you can still lose weight. So he said, eat as many potatoes as you want with no salt, no butter, no oil. And as a treat, you could also have sweet potatoes if he was good.
Oh my God.
So there's 2 weeks.
In all fairness, I can imagine that when you're like really down on your luck, you imagine like for dessert, like you've had a full starter main, and then in dessert they just bring you a sweet potato. I'm sure you are like, this is amazing. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And that we'll talk about that when we get to my experience with it as well.
So apparently he did manage to lose 18 pounds in those 2 weeks, which is amazing. Unbelievable amount of weight. And then the next phase of the diet was gradually, he got to gradually introduce more healthy fruit and vegetables until eventually he was on a whole foods plant-based diet. Okay. Also known as a I'm going to mispronounce this, nutritarian diet.
Nutritarian.
Which is nutritarian.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. A nutritarian diet, which is a medically accepted way of maintaining your health at any stage of life. What does that mean?
It basically means it's a whole food plant-based diet. So you're eating fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low in salt, low in sugar. Like it says, it is accepted at every stage of life. But it was the building up to that diet. You know what I mean? Because I think what happens to a lot of people is they go, right, I've been eating crap for so long, I'm going to go straight onto the whole food plant-based diet. But then they like eat an apple and it's like sour. They eat a vegetable and it's really plain and disgusting. So by taking away like everything and just eating potatoes, it's like making you fucking crave, those like healthy like fruits and vegetables and stuff.
So he did that for 2 weeks then, just on the potatoes, and then kind of, introduced more things into it. So he went on to lose 100 pounds in the process. His blood pressure went down. He stopped eating animal products, and his doctor took him off meds he was told he'd be on for life, which is all amazing stuff, okay?
Yeah.
So then he said he had a new lease of life, never felt any better. And after the 2 week potato famine, as he affectionately called it, which is weird because actually it's the opposite of a famine.
Yeah. It's a famine where all you can eat is potatoes, basically.
Yeah, I feel, I'm actually slightly offended, not to take this personally.
Cultural appropriation, right?
Cultural appropriation. You know what I mean? Anyway, he called it the potato famine. I don't think he's ever does know what a famine is. But he said then he introduced each food item back into his diet. He said it was like tasting it for the first time, which I could imagine is the case. Do you ever, like myself, if I go off chocolate for half a day and then taste it for the first time? I mean, I know like
orgasmic.
Sex is good, but come on, this is better. Like he said, so he said when he had corn, which is obviously the corn in the cob or something, it was like candy. And even celery tasted salty to him.
And some people
Sorry.
do eat celery salt. Do you ever see that in the shops? You can get celery salt. I think it's like ground down celery that you put onto your food as a salt substitute.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've seen
Is it
it,
actually
yeah.
nice?
I've never tried it, but I have at times eaten a real like pungent piece of celery and gone, damn, that is salty. He's onto something there.
This is coming from, just if anyone's listening for the first time, one of our episodes on juicing, Connor mentioned that at one time to sweeten a juice, he put in lemon. So I don't trust your taste buds at all, Connor, if I'm honest. But do you know what? That is something I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna buy, I think, some celery salt and see if it's any use.
Another substitute for salt people use is like ground seaweed. Have you heard about that?
No.
No, you haven't heard about that. It seemed
Like when I think of salt, like, what do you mean? Like, actually, you'd buy it like you buy a salt shaker or something, and it'd be seaweed in it.
yeah, like it'd be like, you know, dehydrated, ground down to like powder seaweed, and it has like an oceany, fishy kind of taste to it, you know, and like seawater, it would be quite salty, I guess. So we're talking about like people with high blood pressure, and salt can be like a poison to them, you know?
And these are the options you have.
Yeah, like, I mean, so that's another thing Penn talks about in the book. He says that, like, you know, he went to a lot of like vegan restaurants to eat more plant-based food, but what he found a lot of the time was that the food there, while some of it is super tasty and all, is like laced in salt, sugar and oil, basically. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, whenever if I go to a vegan restaurant or I'm eating any like vegan stuff and I'm like, oh my God, how have they made these potatoes so creamy? They've just used something that isn't cream, but it definitely isn't good for me. Like, you can't be like basically things shouldn't be this delicious.
Exactly. And like, you know, in fairness to Penn, like, he does start the book with like a sincere disclaimer. Like, he mentions himself, like, he's a bit of a mad trickster, you know, so it's fair to say you'll take this book with a pinch of salt. Like, don't take it as gospel.
A pinch of seaweed salt.
Oh, tell you. But right?
Thank you.
And you know, like, it's not a diet book, you know, it's more of a memoir, but it's definitely sold as a diet book. Yeah, we get that you're tapping into the diet market there. I have to say, like, you know, like, it is an entertaining read, it is an enjoyable read, and it did inspire me to go, you know what? Yeah, let's give this thing a try, you know? Let's go. It's going to be hard. I'll do 2 weeks, no potatoes, or 2 weeks only potatoes, and then
potato famine, as he nicely calls it. Yeah.
And then also avoid the processed foods, sugar, salt and fat and all that.
Can I just ask you, right, because obviously we're coming into when you have tried this diet, is there any backstory? Because as I said, when we were doing the juicing one, I was hungover on a Sunday morning, saw a documentary and said, well, this is it, I'm changing my life. Because, you know, when you're hungover on a Sunday, you just think, I have to change my life. When you're coming up to the potato diet, were you in any way vulnerable when you read this book and just went, do you know what, I'm gonna, you know, when sometimes you're vulnerable to like any ad you see. Like, I was doing research for this, and Google obviously was like, oh, it's time, I know what you need, and it hit me with a nice little like ad, and it was CBD oil, and it said CBD oil can suppress your appetite. Basically 2 minutes later, I was at the checkout online, and I was about to buy a lifetime supply of CBD oil.
Yeah.
And then I remembered the show we were doing. I went, wait a minute, I'm trying not to get caught up in diet culture. What the hell am I doing? So, you know, when you're like, what was going, like when you were picking up the book, were you kind of looking for a diet, or were you actually just like plodding along and then went, oh, maybe I should really try this?
Yeah, like, I mean, I suppose like I would, consider myself to be vulnerable to a lot of these type of things. But why was I at the time? I think at the time I was going like, you know, I'm overweight, want to lose weight as always. This sounds extreme, but it was probably pitched to me in a way that I could kind of get on board with it. And I was like, right, let's just do it. Let's just go for it.
Yes. Yeah.
So I did go for it, and I did. And, you know, so I went to the shop and I bought lots of different types of potatoes.
What are we talking here? What kind of type?
Look, I'm glad you asked, because I have to say, when I first started the diet, I wasn't the biggest potato person, and I'd never really known my way fully around a potato. But
No my way around a potato.
Yeah, I had to.
Having known you a long time, I've never had a conversation about a potato with you. So yeah, I would say that you would never strike me as a potato man.
Yeah, like you'd think that we'd be having at least one monthly chat about potatoes, but sure, here we are. So yeah, lots of different types of potatoes. The red potatoes, I found I'm not a fan.
The roosters.
They're I think they're called new potatoes.
New potatoes. Okay, right.
I think I don't like. There are lots of different types, but definitely bought like a big bag of red potatoes. Wasn't a fan of them, and I remember when I was a kid, I used to eat them. You know, like dinners from parents and childminders. They'd always be like the last thing left on the plate. And they actually kind of turn my stomach.
Yeah.
But the yellow potatoes, or the gold ones, I think they're called yellow potatoes.
There's no way to sexy up a potato. It's just a yellow potato.
Yellow skinned potato. Also, I think Yukon gold potatoes, I think they're called. But anyway, I actually really like them, you know? So I just filled the bacon tray, poked holes in all the potatoes, popped them in the oven, and just left them. And that's about as creative as I was getting with my first batch.
Can I just ask, right? When you're in the supermarket, how many potatoes did you buy? Like,
right?
Is your trolley just full to the brim? Like, did no one turn around to you and go, "Or sorry,
no.
Is there actually a blight coming?" And you're really prepared? Like, what's?
Yeah.
Why?
It was like the start of lockdown when everyone was stocking up on like hand sanitizer.
On flour and bread. If I turned around during the first week of lockdown and I saw a man with a trolley full of potatoes, I would be like, okay, listen, there's some conspiracy here. I need to be going and back and getting. I'd be talking to you like. So, like, how many did you buy?
On the first day, I didn't go mad. Do you know what I mean? I just bought like what I thought would be like enough for a day or two. Bought a medium-sized bag of those like red potatoes, which I ended up probably not eating that much of because they were just so hard and dry. No, I can't. They actually make me wretched thinking about them. And then, I mean, they're probably nice if you like mash them and put like loads of cream and or butter or oil or salt or whatever.
Listen, anything is nice when you start adding a lot of butter and cream and cheese.
But yeah, so I bought them, brought them home, bacon tray, poked holes in them, walked away. Came back to them later, and there's a bit of like, you know, oh, this is mad, isn't it? I'm a bit mad, like, you know, just doing this. I better not tell anyone because they'll think I'm fucking mad.
Just as you're eating plates and plates of potatoes, which, by the way, no salt, no butter.
No pepper.
Nothing. Okay, yeah, right.
So the first day was fine, right? Went to bed, that was grand. The next day when I woke up, I was like immediately starving. And I was like, the thought of having to eat potatoes for breakfast in just their most basic form was really like, you know, troubling.
Oh,
so bland, so insipid, just really gross. But what I noticed about the potatoes was really interesting. When I ate them, I'd be so full. You know, they really fill up because they're like big, like, you know, as many as you want.
Yeah.
But I think they must get digested really fast because within like 20 minutes, it was like my stomach was just totally empty and I was starving, like ravenous again.
Right.
But
okay.
The good thing is you can eat as many as you want. So...
This, by the way, is such a tagline for any diet you ever go on. And you're like, listen... The thing is, though, you can eat as many peas as you want in a day. And that's the fabulous thing about it. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it's, and that's where they sell you on. So you're like, oh, listen, it's potatoes for days, lads. I'm not restricting myself in any other way.
You're spot on, exactly. So that's what I did. And basically, like, every half an hour or an hour, I just ate more potatoes. And I was at home. I didn't have any.
Okay, how many potatoes are we talking? Like, by the time you got to lunchtime on the second day, what are you thinking?
Like, they're not massive. They weren't big, massive ones. Do you know what I mean? They were probably like small, a variety of like small to medium sized ones. But I'd say probably like a good 15 to 20 potatoes, like, you know? Probably. You know what I mean?
Per day?
No, by like lunchtime or something, I would say. Like,
Connor,
they're
joking.
Tiny. You'd be
by
starving.
Lunchtime.
Like that's not an exact figure. If that sounds like a lot to you,
no, but I know,
but
I know. I think you're totally right though, because when you are at home and you're like, if there's nothing else to do, you're gonna go through that.
That's all. Yeah. That's it. Like, you know, that's all that's on your plate. You're not filling up. There's no like major source of protein or vegetables or anything like that on your plate. So, but the thing that was so interesting that you become so hungry so quickly. So then I got straight into the sweet potato, and I swear to God, that sweet potato was sweeter than honey. It was sickly sweet. Listen, this is only day 2 we're talking about
Oh
here,
my
you know
God.
what I mean? And already you're like, this sweet potato is changing my life. It's so sad.
I have found God. Yeah.
And I have to say, like, the sweet potatoes do take longer to cook as well, so that's something to take into account. And I think I napped a lot to pass the time, but every time I woke up, I was like starving beyond like ravenous. And then I think it was the 3rd day that there was an improv gig in the evening. I wasn't like performing at a show, thankfully. So I was like, I have to go into the city centre and fill a little plastic bag with like cooked potatoes, I guess, you know? Like Penchala talks about this in his book. He talks about having baked potato in your pocket. But like he would have like assistants with a fucking portable oven, you know, like perfectly cooking and giving it to him like anytime he wants and puts up something, oh, I need a potato, grand. But I'm like, you know, Mr. fucking average Joe living in Dublin going like, right, well, I gotta bring my own potatoes to the improv show.
Yeah.
And basically I remember so I was wearing like a suit jacket. I had like, you know, a little plastic bag with potatoes in my pocket. And I remember being with our friend Marlon, and we stepped out of the Bewley's Cafe improv place in town to go to the shop. And he was like, oh, I want to get a donut. And it's, you know, those like cartoon donuts that they have in Dublin in the windows of all these places. And they look like proper.
It's like Homer Simpson's donuts where he has them in work and it's like pink sprinkles. It's ridiculous.
Oh, like a donut with like a Mars bar sticking out of it, like, you know what I mean? Like fucking like
a donut with a potato sticking out of it. That's how starchy it is. That's beautiful.
Sweet potato flavored donut, beautiful. Okay, I'll have nothing bad said about my sweet potato flavored donut. But he was getting a donut. And he's like, do you want one? I'll get you one. And I was like, no, I'm cool, man. I'm cool. Of course you don't want to go, no, man, see, I'm on this potato thing. I've got a pocket full of potatoes, you know, like that's just madness. That is beyond fucking crazy. Like, so I held strong. I finished my potatoes while I was in town. And then the fear of hunger, because 9 o'clock in town Saturday night, where are you going to get a potato? Do you know what I mean? Like, Where are you going to get a potato? It's ridiculous.
Where are you going to get a plain potato? Because even if you're in Dublin, which by the way, you can definitely get a dinner in Dublin, you can definitely get a potato, but you're not getting. No. If you ask a restaurant to be like, listen, can you get the beautiful potato, take all the taste out of it? If you can just give me a plain potato, I'm pretty sure they'd ask you to leave. Like I wouldn't.
They'll deport you from the country. They'll deport you from Ireland.
Do you know what our ancestors went through, motherfucker?
If our ancestors could have had salt and pepper on a potato, they would have fucking been delighted.
Gone for it, like you're disrespectful.
Right, like, you know, like limped my way home, weak with hunger. Because you have like, I probably had about a good 6 or 7 potatoes in that baggie in my pocket, but they just went so fast. And
this is a really important thing actually when you are on a diet. That thing of like how prepared you have to be to leave the house ever. And it can actually stop you from leaving the house because you're like, I don't know if I will. Because actually the thought of being out all night and not being able to control when I have my food stuff. And if you are on such a restrictive diet, like the potato diet, you are just so aware of your hunger because all you're thinking about is your next potato.
Exactly.
So you're literally just like, when you run out, you're like, I have to go home. Yeah. Because if I get hungry, I need to be able to have access to the nearest potato.
You've got potatoes on the brain. And when you are out, the only places that are open in the evening at night anyway are fast food places. You know what I mean? So you're like, you're like literally walking by like a chipper going, oh, maybe I could get the salad or...
Oh, stop.
So I think, I can't remember, to be honest, how I survived and what went on, but the next day was the 4th and final day of my potato journey.
Oh, Conor, 4 days, fair play.
And
fair play.
I remember it came to a head when I was watching, as you do, I was watching Jersey Shore for some reason. I'd lost my mind at this stage. I was watching Jersey Shore.
You're watching, by the way, a group of people who definitely haven't had a carb in about 2 weeks, but are drinking insane amounts. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were eating a big Italian feast at their dinner table in their apartment. And they were drinking wine and they were enjoying themselves. And it just looked so like nice and idyllic and just like that's what normal people do. And they're not normal people. I'm here like envying the Jersey Shore people. Like, there's something wrong with you at this stage.
Yeah.
And basically, before I knew it, I was across the street in Lidl buying like cereal or something. You know what I mean? To eat at night, because you're obsessed with foods that you can't have.
Yeah.
And you're like, just a bowl of cold cereal with some sort of milk in it. Yeah. Just like, wouldn't that be so lovely? And like, it's not as if you're like running across to McDonald's to order like the whole fucking menu, like, you know what I mean? And you eat that, so I ate the cereal, and I was like, okay, that was that.
Can I ask you what cereal? Because I'm actually obsessed with cereal.
It was one of those.
Not to get too personal,
I know.
Give
Look,
me the cereal
I'll make an exception. It was one of those like little, nut cluster, maple nut cluster cereals or something like that. Delish, right?
Delicious.
Pecan, maple nut cluster. It's all coming back to me now, actually.
How dare you? That's absolutely a perfect choice.
You know what I mean?
Can I just say, if you're gonna quit a diet, do it with the best choice possible. A nut cluster pecan monstrosity.
Just
fantastic.
Absolutely divine. So that was the end of it. And I have to say, right, as crazy as it made me, as obsessed with food and as weak as it made me, when I was eating the potatoes, when I was full from the potatoes, I felt amazing. I felt like I was burning like clean fuel. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like, like when you're fasting and you have this kind of, I don't know what's happening. Maybe your body has just started eating your brain for like energy or something, which it probably has.
Which it has.
Like,
yeah.
I just felt so like invincible, but delicate, if that makes sense.
But vulnerable, maybe. Conor. The thing is, can I just say, because we've heard this quite a bit now, I think, every time people do diets, it's like this weird thing where we've talked about every horrific part of it and how it was unachievable in the sense that it's not a long-term solution to something. Do you know what I mean? All this sort of stuff. What you have to go through first, the mental strength it takes, the physical, toll it takes. And then after a while, it's like this weird abusive relationship where people then go, but I have to say, when I was on it, when I wasn't hungry, mentally tired, the physical toll, I did feel fantastic. And you're like, come on, like, what are you talking about? But I've done the same thing myself where I'm like, listen, even though I bled from my eyes, I still think eating just for 3 days really helped. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff.
That is so true. That is spot on. Like, and I think like, because a lot of these diets, they are based in some sort of like, there is some positive to it. Do you know what I mean? Like with Pendula, for example, it's like, you go through this 2 weeks of you're able to restructure your diet if it works. You know what I mean? It's a very big like if you can get through the madness of those 2 weeks, it's like you might get something great out of it potentially. But chances are, if you have issues with food, if you love food, if that's why you're possibly overweight in the first place, because you love food, then if you're on a diet that causes you to restrict everything, then it's going to be the first thing. And there's all these studies, and she talks about it in the anti-diet book as well, about people who were doing like weight loss experiments. Men who didn't have weight problems were put on like restrictive diets, and like within a couple of weeks they were like threatening like the researchers, going like, if you tell anyone that I'm sneaking food in here, I'm going to kill you, like, because it just it makes people go crazy, like.
And it actually disrupts your relationship with food, because what it does is make you focus on food all the time. I know from my own personal experience that my best times tend to be times where I'm actually less restrictive on myself, where I go, oh, do I actually want that muffin?
Sure.
And actually, if I really want it, I'll have it. And then I probably later, because what happens to me is that if I'm in a shop and actually what I really want, I'm on the rag, I really want the chocolate muffin. Do you know what I mean? But actually, I'm like, oh no, I can't have that. So instead, I'll get a special K-bar, which will make me lose the will to live.
And it's not the same. It's just not the same.
It's not the same, and it's not what I wanted. And then later, I'll feel sorry for myself. And then I'll probably eat 20 muffins instead of the one muffin I wanted. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that mentality of you start to feel really hard done by, and you're just not, you're annoyed, and you're thinking about the muffin all day.
It's almost like this
so it's actually like this,
a hoarding kind of mentality, that you're like, oh, that one time in the past when I was deprived of something, that's never going to happen again. You know, even if that's happening on like a subconscious level, your brain is going, better make sure I don't run out of muffins again. So, you know, gobble them up and shove them in your cheeks like a hamster, you know, to save for a later date. Like,
and all I'll say as well, you know, please never do the potato diet again, Conor. You know what I mean? Love you as a person and think you deserve so much more from life. But I do think, you know, listen, as your man said, this worked for me. All I can say, like, obviously he had so many medical problems and stuff, and he was under the guide of some sort of doctor or nutritionist or something like that. But like, do you know, I do think it's a very extreme diet, and so some of these diets tend to only work for a very small percentage of people, whatever it is about their lifestyle or their mentality or how they work. So all I'll say is please don't do the potato diet. Anyway,
I 100% agree with you. And yeah, like, I mean, that's another thing to mention. Like, when Penn was doing that diet, he had, you know, a small army helping him achieve his goals. You know, his doctor, you know, that scientist Ray Cronise. And like, it's funny because Ray Cronise isn't really a diet guy, you know, and he's become known as like the potato diet guy, even though he wouldn't even himself call it potato diet. He called it like a mono diet. And he did say like, yeah, you could do it with beans or rice, but like, as we said, that would just be also miserable. Kind of like
could you imagine beans?
I'm a celebrity.
Could you imagine bringing out little tinfoil of beans?
Stop! I know,
for your night
or
out.
Rice,
do you know what
like, I mean, gosh.
Are you like me and don't know your way around a potato? Well, suffer no more, because help is on the way. Introducing the brand new Spud Pocket 5.0. On your way to a business meeting or a sports match? Hungry? Spud Pocket's got you covered. We use the latest starch-powered technology in all of our pocket-sized smartphone-powered microwave ovens to bring you home fresh goodness from your pocket direct to your mouth.
Damn, I forgot to cook my potatoes for lunch.
Spud Pocket.
Really should have eaten before going on the piss.
Spud Pocket.
Doctors said I'd have to get massive invasive surgery if I wanted to live long enough to see my kids grow up. But a TV magician said if I copied him and ate only potatoes for 2 weeks, it might buy me some extra time. And I can finally have a fulfilling, healthy life.
Use Spud Pocket sensibly as part of a balanced diet in conjunction with a personal trainer, dietitian, nutritionist, physiotherapist, and a psychic. Spud Pocket.
And now for our bullshit diet news of the week, my favourite segment.
Yes.
So, Conor, I have a little story for you, basically. No, I hadn't heard about this. This story came out kind of early this year, February 2020. Now, obviously, lots happened this year, so no wonder it kind of got buried and everything. But do you know the artist JoJo? Do you remember JoJo?
I actually
Get
can't
up
say.
right now. It's the end of... we might have to edit that out for...
I don't know, but she sounds wonderful.
She had a cracking tune at the age of 13, right?
Okay.
But
oh, wow, okay.
Basically, she's 29 now. But JoJo revealed that she was put on an extreme 500 calorie a day diet by her record label as a teenager. She basically opened up about the extreme lengths she went to as a teenager to appease her former record label by eating just 500 calories a day. Sorry, it makes me so upset, physically upset, reading something like this. 500 calories a day is nothing. She said in an interview that early on in her career, which saw her become the youngest solo artist to reach number one with the hit Leave, Get Out, at the age of 13 years old. So extremely young. But the success was short-lived because her record label at the time, Blackground, refused to release any of JoJo's new music following that chart-topping single, which is odd, obviously, because she got to number one. She said the reason she believes that their label held her back was because of the way she looked. So when she was 18, she went into the office and the president of the label said, listen, we just want you to look as healthy as possible. But she told the music mogul that she already was the picture of health. With fair play to her at the age of 18, I don't think I would have had that sort of ability to stand up for myself. And she believed that he was more concerned about her being skinny than her well-being, which I can imagine
This
being
is like
true.
this is only 10 years ago. This isn't like some crazy story from like the 50s or something.
Yeah,
This is like
it's not like
so
it's Judy
recent.
Garland where they put her on diet pills or something,
Yeah.
you know, like for the Wizard of Oz. This is very recent.
Yeah.
She said, I ended up getting put with a nutritionist that had me on a 500 a day diet, 500 calorie a day diet. And I was on these injections that make you have no appetite.
Oh my God.
I'd love for her to name the nutritionist who put her on this at the age of 18 years old. I was like, let me see how skinny I can get, because maybe they'll want to put out an album. Maybe I'm just so disgusting that no one wants to see me in a video and they can't even look at me. That's really what I thought.
Oh my God.
So she went on to explain that this is reflective of a larger problem within the music industry that sees young stars develop extreme insecurities and disordered eating, which I'm not surprised. I felt how I must have not have been enough, and that I must have been dissatisfying. She revealed later she turned to drugs and alcohol as a way to feel pretty and worthy. She said, I needed to be buzzed to feel okay. I would go to the edge, stand on the tiptoes of the edge, and then come back. She said, after months of struggling to get her career moving again, Jojo decided to take legal action against the record label in a bid to be released from her contract. Once again, fair play to this girl. Incredibly young to be dealing with something like this. I feel like as a 31-year-old now, I don't have that sort of confidence, to stand up for myself.
And it feeds into that career thing of you don't want to speak up because, you could just be fired, axed, and so to be a young person and stand up for yourself, that is so impressive. Like,
but even to say, and like, I think actually, you know what, even and you're completely right for her to think, God, this will really affect my career going forward. But at the same time, I suppose they were withholding an album that she was like, I suppose I have no career if they're not going to release it. But I think it's even so impressive for her to sit in a room with a grown man at the age of 18 and him say, yeah, we're just for your health. And for her to go, well, actually, I think I am the picture of health. Really, I just think you're more concerned with the fact that I'm not skinny. And I find it so interesting because I think it's a real talking point now, particularly for myself. I'm quite a healthy person. I'm quite fit, but I'm not slender. I'm not a trim person. And I find that a lot of people will judge you, you know what I mean, as an unhealthy person just because you're bigger or you live in a larger body. But it's interesting that this person didn't even live in a larger body, lived in a fairly trim body, but she just wasn't skinny and was getting that same flack.
What else is really upsetting about this? This is probably one of the stories with like a happy ending. You know what I mean? That this person stood up for themselves and hopefully got out of this difficult situation and has spoken out about it, online to the point that we're able to talk about it. But think of the amount of artists, musicians, actors, singers, dancers who've had that same meeting with an agent, manager, producer, someone who has absolutely zero business, talking about their body, and they've taken the advice, and this dodgy weekend certified nutritionist has put them on this like dangerous and hateful program. Like, it's one thing with us and people going, oh, I fancy a change, I'm going to try something extreme. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But for someone else to put that on you, someone who's not a doctor, someone who doesn't care about you, that is just so hateful.
Well, what I can say also, because I think it's so, Jesus, that man has some cojones to sit down with an 18-year-old girl and say this to her. But I actually find that, it's funny that you say like, oh, for someone else to put it on you. But I would argue that actually, Conor, I think society puts it on us. Yeah. If you are a person...
But we're the ones making the choice.
I do understand that. But I do feel like you turn on any ad, you turn on Instagram. Actually, Instagram being probably the number one thing now that's targeting people with ads. But I would find that actually, even though we are making the choice, it also is being put upon us quite a lot to really go to these extremes. And even the fact to try an extreme diet, we know it's extreme. Even going in and going, to eat potatoes for 2 weeks, like it's so extreme. And then we look back and like we're having a laugh because like it's hilarious thinking about it. But I am like, God, it is actually being put on us by someone, even if it's not a person sitting in a room with us. It's our TVs, it's our radios, it's our media, and also it's just Instagram, and it's just general society. Like,
I think
sorry, that's my rant for the day.
Well,
Sorry.
I know
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of that, but I think with the music industry as well. Like, I mean, we're seeing a lot of change happening in
Yes.
the film industry, in comedy, in there's more diversity, there's more kind of opportunities for people to speak out about like problems they've had. I think the music industry, like, listen to any like pop or rap song, it's ridiculously like sexualizing and objectifying, and you know what I mean? Like, and that's just coming from me. Like, I can't imagine what it must be like on the inside, but when I hear a story like that, it just kind of makes you go, yeah, that's only 10 years ago. I can't imagine things have changed all that much,
Yeah. Because they reached a settlement in 2009. But Jojo revealed she was not given any money as part of the settlement. She said, I didn't get any damages or anything like that. I just walked away being able to sign another record contract. I was like, let's go, I'm free. So, and she says, I feel really, really lucky for the longevity that I have and for the resilience that I do have, but I work on it every day. Well, seriously, fair play to you, Jojo, because I could tell you right now, I don't feel like I have that resilience in me at all,
Yeah. I would be
Well
feckin' eating one potato a day trying to get that #1 record and failing miserably. So fair play to Jojo.
You would have, if they'd sat down with you, you're like, listen, I have a load of potatoes in the oven.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
ready
even
to go.
worry about it.
I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
I'm ready to go, man.
Yeah.
Fair play, Jojo. I would love to play your song right now, but we don't have the music rights. Considering it's Get Out right now, unbelievable tune. Connor, go listen to it. You haven't lived until you've listened to Jojo's.
I won't listen to it. I'm not going to listen to it, but I appreciate you're trying.
How dare you? You know what this woman's been through. How dare you?
So this is our segment where we hear from our listeners about how they've gotten on. We're a new show, so we haven't heard from anyone on the potato diet. Also, there's probably not that many people out there that we know who've done this. So what we have...
Not as many people are as courageous as you.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much.
To try the potato diet.
So what we've done is we've gone to Reddit to bring up a little segment we like to call Reddit Says. So we're just going to read out some comments that people have made about the potato diet, completely anonymous and unedited. So I'll just read the first one. We'll take one each and I'll read the first one here.
Yeah.
So this is from someone, their comment just said, Phase 2, looking for different recipes. How about chicken broth? Would it really mess up my diet?
Oh, God.
So obviously this is after the 2-week initial potato diet. They're starting to introduce things. Chicken broth, which is what is that? Bone water or something? Chicken. You put chicken bones and some seasoning and water and drink it.
It's like kind of like almost like a peasant dish sort of thing.
Yes.
It's what you'd use for the ends of the chicken. The literal, I mean, you're really trudging at the bottom of the barrel here now for a little bit of chicken broth. If you're on a diet so extreme that you're like, with chicken broth now, would that
derail me? Would that derail me?
Yeah, am I off the wagon now? Do you know what I mean?
I can totally relate to that. And it's just reflective of so many other diets as well, where you're like, is it okay if I have a Tic Tac, or will that just like totally set me back? Will that just set me back 5 stone? Like, because
I genuinely, when I was on a juice cleanse, was like getting sugar-free chewing gum and was looking it up online, being like, now, I mean, sugar-free, but like, I think there's still like 2 calories in it. Like, is this really going to throw me off? The love of God. Right, our next one. Our anonymous Reddit user. So I did 2 days of the potato diet with the intention of the normal 2 weeks, but I broke down when my husband made some fish and rice yesterday. Plus I never liked potatoes and I was eating about 3 a day, so I was hungry. Anyway, I'm back with the potatoes today. That message was a real roller coaster.
Wasn't it?
I couldn't tell what she was going to do next.
I was like, oh, well, clearly she's given up completely. That's her done now. She had a decadent meal of fish and rice.
Yeah. And I mean, like, they might have used salt on that rice.
For shame.
And you know what I mean? Salt on that fish, like real salt, not sea salt or celery salt, whatever. I like the way, plus I never liked potatoes. And she was eating 3 potatoes a day. You were at like 10 by lunch.
Oh, by lunchtime,
you know?
I was, oh my God, can you imagine 3 potatoes? She must have been absolutely starving, the poor woman. Oh my God, back on the potatoes today. We never heard from this person again, obviously. That was their last comment, possibly on Reddit ever. We don't know. Well, I wish her luck. The next one says, okay, sorry. Is it still the potato diet? Is it still the potato diet if you mix the two to get some variety? Will the results be more or less the same? Or should I just stick to the regular bland potatoes? P.S. I'm eating a clove of garlic with each meal.
Oh, like with each meal. That is so funny.
My heart goes out to you.
Like, I definitely think it's okay to mix two varieties of potatoes of the plain boiled potatoes you're eating.
Two varieties of potato. That's like putting two different glasses of water together and going, is this still okay? Bottled water.
Now, I have...
Bottled water and tap water together. Like, oh my God.
Though we can all agree that bottled water does taste different from tap water. Like, I'm not
That is
insane.
true.
There's a slight taste difference, but calorie-wise, babes, you're fine.
But
I like the way she's eat a clove of garlic.
A clove of garlic.
With each meal.
Like, could you imagine the guilt that this per person must be feeling from eating that clove of garlic? Going, oh fuck, I'm not doing it right. Like, I'm such a letdown. It's like,
why can't I have some self-restraint?
Yeah,
some goddamn
what's wrong with
self-restraint.
me?
Is it Judy Garland that's after sending this post?
No, it's
like,
Jojo.
I feel like she's like,
It was actually Jojo.
It's Jojo. Poor Jojo. Okay, our next comment. Day 6, 12 pounds down. I bet most of it is water weight. Yeah, it's definitely water weight if you're lost 12 pounds in 6 days.
6 days, that's
I'm going to tell you right
2
now.
pounds a day.
Yeah.
That's a kilo a day. Wow, that's it's good going there. If you're trying to fit into a swimsuit in the middle of winter, then yeah, you'll be all set.
Yeah.
Okay, last one says, I'm on my sixth day of the diet, and I'm starting to find it hard to eat potatoes any longer. I've shooting for 2 weeks on the diet, but I'm finding that I would rather fast than eat the potatoes most of the time, which is leading to feeling very weak and almost sick.
Oh,
For
God.
those who've made it through the 2 weeks, what keeps you going? Any words of motivation or encouragement would be much appreciated. My wife just thinks I'm crazy, and I'm starting to wonder if this whole thing is pointless.
Oh.
That's just sad.
Just, dear last person who made that comment, just don't do the potato diet anymore, please. Just go and enjoy your life with your wife, who is willing to stick by you as you, for some reason, eat potatoes every day and then decide, actually, I don't even want to eat potatoes. I'd rather not eat potatoes and just not eat because I hate potatoes so much. Please just, if your wife is willing to stick by you, you have a fantastic wife. Enjoy your marriage. Enjoy your life. Get off this diet.
Have a bit of pepper.
It's definitely pointless.
Throw a bit of pepper.
Add some pepper. Get that clove of garlic into you, babes. Whatever keeps you going. Whatever keeps your life light.
Just splurge and treat yourself to a clove of garlic.
Some cayenne pepper. Get yourself, do you know what I mean?
Talking.
Get yourself that little sweet potato. Put a bit of cinnamon on it. I hear that does the job for some reason.
Oh, that would be good. And
yeah, that's a little hack.
Cinnamon is allowed in fasting situations, isn't it?
But please just don't do the diet any longer. You deserve so much more from your life. Love from Grace and Conor. That's all our comments from the Reddit. That was actually brilliant. The second one near killed me.
Me too.
Um,
Cool. So now it's time for some quick facts and trivia about the potato diet and monodiets in general.
Okay, so our fun facts of the week. First, we have number 1, the potato diet, which we've been discussing. In 2010, Chris Voigt, executive director of the Washington State Potato Commission, ate 20 potatoes a day for 2 months. He accepted that the diet is not sustainable in the long term, but said his experiment had revealed how truly healthy potatoes are. Now, I will say for this little fact, I feel like we've uncovered some sort
Secret
of like
society.
Secret society where your man's like, I mean, listen, I have no reason to lie to you. I just work for the Washington State Potato Commission. But this is just for me to prove that potatoes are healthy and not bullshit. Anyway, listen, do whatever you want.
The thing that stood out to me there most was that there is a Washington State Potato Commission. It just sounds so nefarious. Like, what else are they covering up?
Yeah.
Maybe they had something to do.
Oh, he comes from that potato money. You know that you don't want to take on the oil industry.
Yeah.
You don't want to take on the
Spud
potato
cash.
industry. They will shut
They
you
call
down.
it spud cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they had something to do with the potato famine conspiracy.
This
which
is it, yeah.
was a conspiracy, by the way, but that's a whole other podcast.
Connor, you trying to
I'm not a
crack
famine
open
denier.
some sort of conspiracy
I'm not
theory?
a famine denier. I should make that clear. That's
Yeah, please. We actually want this to go out. I don't want to have to edit this
I'm
whole
a
time.
potato truther. So our next one is from a guy called Spudfit. So have you ever heard of Spudfit, Grace? Okay,
No,
so
what's
Andrew
this?
Taylor, he's an Australian dieter who went on a potatoes only diet, and he lost over 110 pounds in 8 months of eating nothing but potatoes. He cured his own clinical depression, which he claims you can do too in his book Spudfit, which is available on Amazon. I'm not plugging it, but it's there if you want to read the synopsis.
First you deny the Irish famine happened, and now you're plugging.
I said I wasn't
that
a
you
denier.
can cure clinical
I
depression.
said I wasn't a denier. I'm just reading what the synopsis of this guy's book says. And if you see, I've put the cover of his book there. On the cover of his diet book, he's surrounded by different types of potatoes, and he kind of looks like a potato.
He actually does. I mean, he must have known.
I think
Like, he
that's
must have
intentional.
known.
I think it is. It's kind of like, he's got a shaved head. I've seen him in interviews. He does seem like a lovely guy. He was struggling with his weight, which I totally, relate to and, understand, what he's doing. And, he did have kind of doctors weighing in on his situation and said, yeah, like he's healthy enough. He's hydrated. He's healthy. He's just not like, you're not going to eat spuds for like a year and then go run a marathon. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like healthy in that way. But I think you've also discovered a couple of other people who've tried mono diets in the past. This is something I was totally unfamiliar with.
So the mono diet thing is not new to our, like once again, we all think, sometimes we think these things are very recent. There's the next that we have is the egg diet. Piero di Comissimo, which is, I'm butchering that name, but if you put a bit of an Italian accent on it, I'm sure it rings true, was an Italian Renaissance painter who ate only boiled eggs.
Puke.
Antonio Malibecci.
Magliabecci.
So sorry, I just... Malibecci was an Italian librarian, scholar and bibliophile, which I had to look up. Actually, you're addicted to books. His diet was commonly only 3 hard-boiled eggs. Like, what is it with this putastic egg thing? But they just were mad into eggs anyway. And then the next is the milk diet, okay? In the 1920s, the milk diet fad was popularised by a physical culturist, Bernard McFadden. Just, they can really come up with some...
Yeah, you'd swear these names were made up.
bullshit jobs, can't they, back in the day? He advertised the diet as a remedy for diverse ailments such as eczema, hay fever and impotence. I'm going to say right now, I suffer badly from hay fever. I don't think milk is the answer. His milk-only regime was excessive and he recommended 28 cups of milk a day.
Oh my God.
I've only known GA players to drink that many bloody cups of milk a day, all right? I will say there is a thing, I don't know if it's just me, but I've always noticed that GAA players will always have a pint of milk with dinner, which is 90% spuds as well. So it's like they're bringing those two
that's
together.
That's a very kind of, rural Irish thing to have, like, and I've seen Dublin people do it as well, but like, it is very kind of traditional thing to drink a pint of milk with your dinner. It was never something I did. It was never something I was a fan of.
Oh God.
I just there's so much kind of like research and stuff out there on negative health effects from milk that we won't like altogether get into right now. But I can't.
Yeah, Connor, I can't have the potato milk
egg
and famine deniers on our backs for this podcast. Okay, I don't need all that pressure on the podcast. A very early podcast to be getting all that
press
heat.
Is bad
okay,
press though,
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Fag Camp, brought to you by Grace Mulvey, Connor Dowling, and producer and sound engineer extraordinaire Darren Lee.
With new episodes released every 2 weeks, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen to your podcasts.
If you want to get in touch with the show, email us at fadcamppodcast@gmail.com or find us on Instagram and Twitter at fadcamppodcast.